Okay, so welcome to webinar 6, and this is having a look at step 6, and this is all around your practical assessment at level 3, your personal training session. So this will be conducted on one of the 3 session plans that you designed in step 5. So we had a session plan for phase 1, we had a session plan for phase 2, and then you created a session plan for phase 3. You and your tutor can agree with which session you're going to deliver as your practical assessment, and then I'm going to very quickly go over what is required of you during that practical assessment. Now, your practical assessment can either be conducted in an assessment centre where you and your tutor can liaise with one another and book yourself a time to go down to an assessment centre and have a tutor there physically watching you, assessing you with your real life client. Or we can organise it via video assessment where the set criteria for a DVD submission will be sent to you for that. So you can either do your personal training session via video submission, or you can physically come into an assessment centre. So if you just have a quick look here, during the course your assessor will observe you instructing one of your planned sessions prepared for the case study. The session selected for the summative observation must include a range of exercises, including resistance exercises, cardiovascular, and some form of flexibility. So really in your session, if you've planned those session plans correctly, there should be some form of warm-up in there with some mobility work, some cardiovascular work. There should be a main component, which it might be a strength focus and really focusing on the strength element for your client. And then there'll be a cool down aspect as well, where you'll have a bit of CV to decrease the heart rate and really start to slow the tempo down. And then there may be some element of PNF and some static stretches in there. Now, the client who takes part in your session should be the person who you have planned your 12 weeks of training for. However, in the event of an unforeseen circumstance, that means the actual client cannot participate in your session. Another person can take their place, okay? And you've just got some of the replacement criteria there. But ideally, let's get the real-life client you picked to participate in your session. And as you will have seen numerous times now, there is some criteria that us as assessors will be looking for. So I'll let you you can read through that criteria there, and also in your manuals, if I can find it here, there's some really good sections on delivery and what we're really looking for from instructors and instructing skills. So you can see like the communication aspects there. You can have a look at how to work with different clients if they're more visual, more kinesthetic, but there's some really good sections on delivery within that practical session. The key things for you to focus on really are this criteria. The whole time, I would always focus on an acronym, a small acronym called WRAP. Okay, so that's W-R-A-P. Now, with the W, the whole time you're working through this session with your client is you're talking to your client what and why you are doing it. So as a very quick example, what are we doing? We're going to take them into a warm-up. The reason I'm going to take my client into a warm-up is that I can increase the body temperature. That will sort of help increase pulmonary efficiency. It'll help push oxygen around the body for the main component. It can help prevent injury, etc., etc. If, for instance, you've got in your main component some really heavy deadlifts, I'd want to tell your client what you're doing. So we're going to go into some really heavy compound deadlifts and why you are doing it. And the why should always relate back to your client's goals that you've identified in your 12 weeks of training. Then you've got the A, so area activation. You should always be educating your client on what particular area of the body we're focusing on, what muscles are predominantly activated during that session. So in the deadlift, we're looking very hip dominant. We should be talking about the glutes and the hamstrings and the erector spinae, the lats. It's a really big whole body movement, but let's get some specific muscles in there. Okay, we're also looking at the R. So, yeah, we should have the range of motion. So you've got your W, which is your what and why. Then I would go into the R, which is your range of motion. So make sure you are always demonstrating to your client. Okay, so instructing the client to perform exercise and correct technique. So make sure you show them the required range of motion you are looking for in that particular session. The A, as I've just mentioned, is the area and activation. And the P is sort of like progress and play around with things as well. So if something looks too easy for the client, make sure we're progressing it. If it looks too difficult, you may need to sort of regress that. So what I'm looking for, what I look for is kind of that WRAP acronym. W is the what and why you're doing it. R is the range of motion you're expecting from your client. So make sure you demonstrate everything throughout your session. The A is the area that we're working on in the activated muscles. And then the P is progress and play around with intensity. So make sure if it looks too easy, let's challenge the client. If it looks too difficult, let's keep safety in mind. We might have to regress that. So WRAP is W, what and why, R, range of motion, A, area activation, P, progress and play. And they're really what you're looking for, but this criteria will outline all of that. So I wish you the best of luck for your practical assessments, and I will see you on webinar 7. Cheers.